Hi, I'm Brad Dourif.
My name is Colin Salmon.
I am Emily Hampshire, and I play Jennifer Goines on 12 Monkeys.
Hey, this is Katie Sackhoff.
Hey, it's Greg Grunberg.
My name is Gareth Edwards.
My name is Neville Peach, and I'm a concept designer in film.
Hello, my name is Matt Frewer, and welcome to Sci-Fi Talk.
Hi, this is Tony Tolato, and today we're going to look at a film called The Mandela Effect. And it's really two different conversations. First, we're going to start off with the film's director and co-writer, and that is David Guy Levy, and one of its stars. The Mandela Effect is a very interesting film. Depending on your beliefs, it really questions reality. If you're a Philip K. Dick fan like I am, then it's always good to question reality once in a while. And that's what this film does. Is this a parallel universe that we're going to be unveiled before our eyes? Or is it a large simulation by a powerful computer, a la The Matrix? Questions that this film asks and dives deep into it, but yet it also revolves around a family. It's Tony Tolato, and with me today, interesting, the co-writer and director of a film, David Guy Levy. It's called The Mandela Effect, and also one of the stars who plays the very troubled Brendan, Charlie Hofheimer. Welcome, gentlemen, to the podcast.
Thank you for having us. Thanks, Tony.
David, how did this idea come to you? I mean, this, to me, kind of goes into the Philip K. Dick kind of territory.
Oh yeah, well, K. Dick is someone I definitely look up to for sure. I think the idea first presented itself at a moment in my life where I was really interested in simulation hypothesis and the idea that we might all be living in a simulated reality. I'd been reading about different people's beliefs and philosophies on the subject, and then I was introduced to the Mandela Effect, the phenomenon of many people remembering something different than the way it was on a large scale. And then finding the connection between the two was very exciting for me. And then also going through some personal trauma in my life, I started to question what was real and what wasn't. I thought, well, this is all kindling for the idea that became this movie.
How did you approach Brendan? Did you and chance to kind of talk about how to create this character?
Well, the interesting thing was, we did it with Charlie, because we actually knew we wanted him. When we started to think about the story and how we'd approach it, we were sort of like, well, who we should be writing this for is Charlie, who we know to be this fantastic actor we worked with previously on a film called Would You Rather. And so the character, even though Stefan and I had come up with how to approach a story, we then got to develop it with Charlie himself.
Well, I mean, that was one of the things I really looked forward to in working on this. I mean, even before the concept itself, I had such a great experience working with Stefan and David on Would You Rather, and was just honored and tickled by the fact that they would think of me in this next venture of theirs. And then the prospect of getting to be in the trenches with them in the latter parts of the script development was also something that I truly enjoy. I've a little bit of a directing, producing history myself, and the collaborative part, the conceptual part, the development part was extremely exciting. And then in the case of Brendan specifically, I think we might have developed the idea of him being a coder together and ways of giving him agency without letting too many cats out of the bag in terms of how he could have some sense of control or potential control over the obstacles that he would be confronted with in this movie. And also, I really liked the way in which David and Stefan were approaching the idea of an antagonist, which I feel is really original in this movie, one where we don't necessarily see them in the flesh or have a sort of symbolic embodiment of them, but where it's sort of lurking behind these actions we see unfold. And it was a really interesting process working with them to try to find the sweet spot of enough to hold on to feel like we were connected to and fearing the obstacle and the antagonist, but not so much as to spoon feed the audience or let the cat out of the bag or prevent an audience from being able to go down their own rabbit hole and, as you said, really think about the movie and the concept.
For both of you, How do you develop a family dynamic? And obviously, the family is very important to this film. With your wife and also your daughter in the film. For both of you, so how do you actually work on something so that we see a family that looks like a family, and make it totally believable?
If you can relate to them emotionally, that could probably be your entryway into finding that believability in them. So the film starts off, so it's not really a big spoiler. In the first 2 minutes of the movie, they lose their daughter. You're immediately just understanding that they're coming from a place of grief, and probably, even though they're both grieving on intense levels, they are approaching it from different angles. And so we wanted him to maybe gravitate and try to towards finding an answer or explaining his grief to himself, and you have her sort of trying to maybe dive into her work and not think about it as much or in the same way that he is. I think they're both thinking about it a lot, but they want to handle it in different ways. And then for my own personal life, I'm really close with my sister's husband. My wife's brother is really close to me. I always find that a sibling in a marriage situation is a common factor in my life, and that's sort of where Matt came from. And Matt was this way to be someone he thinks he could trust with what he's doing, but also who then becomes the counterpoint to his point. As he's thinking about things, there's someone to then have a counterpoint debate with, and then also be able to flag with the way he's handling with his issues to his wife. So like those three characters offer us a way to get into the story as well, and the ideas we're presenting in a way where we can present them and then discuss them, with these three different mindsets.
Part of it is having, when you have a great collaborator in Aleska Palladino, you get to talk about things that aren't even in the script, and to sort of understand the context of their relationship and their love, and what worked well when things worked well, and what some of the intervening time between the loss of their daughter and when we find them, the thrust of the story, what some of the events were that happened, and to play with improvs and to ask and answer lots of questions about the nature of their dynamic, such that hopefully some of that shows up in between the lines on screen and in the nuances of their interactions. At the time that we were filming this, my longtime fiance was pregnant with my now almost 2-year-old son.
Oh, wow.
And so with regards to the daughter and the loss thereof, it requires projecting some of your worst fears and some of your deepest sensations of love that you genuinely feel in your own life onto the circumstances that Brendan finds himself in, and onto his daughter, played by Maddie DeGraw. So that was some of the acting approach to creating verisimilitude in the family.
Basically, the movie has a little bit of mystery in it. It's trying to find out the cause, and really it questions what reality is. Because of the theme of the film, well, David, you wrote it or co-wrote it, but have you kind of taken a step back and maybe rethought a little bit of what our reality really is?
100%. While I don't know what I believe, I know that I have lots of questions. As you look into the Mandela Effect, no matter what side you are on the subject, you probably have one opinion on the other why it is what it is. As far as simulation hypothesis, I've yet to come up with any good reason that we're not living in a simulation. So I haven't ruled it out.
I certainly hope that this is one of the, that you can't separate a piece of art from the moment that it is released into the world. And, on today, this divided society we live in playing out right now in the media, who among us doesn't wonder how we share one common reality with people with such diametrically opposing views on what it is, what's right, what's fair, what's real. And so hopefully this movie and Brendan can be an opportunity to encourage all of us to question our own foregone conclusions.
Yeah, I've always thought that, like, when you're sleeping, the world kind of resets, and maybe the room around you isn't exactly what you think it is, kind of thing. So I've kind of always questioned reality, and it's kind of like, if I were designing this, I think I would have made it a lot better than what it is. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Makes me think, and guys really appreciate it. These are the kind of films that I like. So thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you, Tony. Appreciate it.
There's more of my look at the Mandela Effect here on Sci-Fi Talk.
Hello, I am C-3PO Human Cyborg Relations.
This is Leonard Nimoy.
Hi, I'm Angel Colby. I play Guinevere in Merlin.
Hi, this is Billy Boyd. I play Pippin in Lord of the Rings, and you're listening to Sci-Fi Talk.
Live long and prosper.
My wife and I saw White Rabbit, Red Rabbit here in New York with Robert.
Really?
Yep, and you actually picked my wife to go on stage with you, so that was fun.
Gosh, that's amazing! Oh my God, I'm so glad you saw that. That was one of the most amazing nights of theater I've ever had.
I mean,
such a brilliant project.
I'll tell you, that was the fact that you were literally doing it on the fly. Really, that is challenging for any actor. Amazing stuff.
It was the closest to skydiving that I'll ever get. Like jumping out of that plane, hoping the parachute opens.
So today I am with Robin Lord Taylor, who you know, of course, and also Aleska Palladino. Really, both of you, Aleska, this role for you, about a challenge. This one for you certainly had a very interesting arc during the middle of the film. So talk about playing her and how you kind of worked with her arc a little bit.
Right. Yeah, it was a very, first of all, her arc was really compelling to me. And the challenge of it was how to make it make sense, And so I was thinking a lot about how trauma lives in the body, whether or not we know things on two different levels. There's a physical knowledge of stuff that has happened that you hold in your body, and then there's, your memory and things that you can consciously remember. And so when we take away what someone can consciously remember, because, the rewriting of the simulation, we're really left with what the body has experienced. And I felt like that's what was driving her mad, was that split between what she can physically remember happening and what was being presented to her as reality at that point. Just a lot of trying to understand trauma and how it does live in our bodies.
And Robin, you played Matt. You were you are Brandon's brother. And what's interesting is their relationship. Kind of talk about how you both established that relationship. Apparently, they were able to do that pretty much as you were going along.
Yes. I sort of see Matt as he's the skeptic. He's the grounding character in this story. He's the one who's constantly trying to bring Brendan back from the edge and to really focus on what is physically in front of him, which is Matt's sister, and help him deal with his grief in a way that he doesn't seem to be dealing with. And also I sort of feel like, Matt is, in a way, he is a stand-in for the audience as well, in that he is he's sort of, again, he's the skeptic. He's the example of how many people, how they approach this idea of the Mandela effect, and when he says repeatedly it's false memory, and he's basically seeing his brother-in-law spin out. He just wants to bring him back to what he thinks is reality.
The film deals with reality. You always wonder, especially when I was younger, like if you're in a room, what happens to the other room since you can't see it? Is it being reconstituted or something? Or if you leave someplace, we just flew from Charleston, South Carolina. So it's like, is it really there? You really don't know.
It's true.
Your perception doesn't allow that.
Right. I love that about this movie, and just these ideas that we address in the film also is that you can't prove that they aren't real. Like, that's the thing, and that's what's so exciting about it. It's the fact that if you just look at it from a different viewpoint, reality as we know it and we come to understand it, we might just be thinking of it that way because that's what makes us feel comfortable.
It's really hard. I mean, I'm open to any of the possibilities. I think that there is a lot of science that I don't necessarily understand that does definitely support this idea of simulations. There's a lot of really intelligent people I know that really believe it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know if I have enough. I think I'm the kind of person who really learns off of my own experience. So I'm not sure what reality I'm in, to be quite honest. But yeah, I think it's fascinating. I love all possibilities.
And there is some special effects, and they're really used well. And I don't want to give anything away, but what was it like for you to kind of perform with the effect?
It was really embarrassing. So for that shot, I think you're talking about, I had to stand. I had to stand and be mid-scream for 30 seconds, which is it was a weird thing to do, but and you can't move at all and all this stuff. So it was interesting, but I loved the outcome. So it was definitely worth it.
And really, with both of your characters in relation to Brendan, have to be grounded. Otherwise, the movie you can't buy anything that's going on. Talk about that aspect to bring a reality to those relationships.
Well, that was really what really hooks me into the project to begin with, is the fact that I love it when you have where there's a film or whatever medium you want to talk about, where it takes such a giant concept such as simulation theory or multiple realities existing, and really bringing it into a real human experience, which is what this family goes through, the loss of their daughter, and so being able to really show that side of these humans and what they're going through, and to do it in such a gentle, thoughtful, caring way, at the same time addressing these larger than life concepts. I think that was so important, I think, for all of the actors. And again, we all, along with David, we all really connected on an emotional level. We all felt very close. And I think that's really what comes through when you see the film, is that, behind the scenes, we really do, there is a family feeling between all of us, and that love is real.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a special group of people, this one. What's so beautiful about this movie is that both stories could stand on their own. Both stories could be their own.
Exactly.
Song, and that they are so seamlessly sewn together in this way that you don't feel like one is in vain of the other. You don't feel like there's just this family story shoehorned in for the sake of getting people emotionally involved. And it feels like it's coming from a real genuine place of just what happens when we're fighting against loss. What happens to the brain when we're trying to either heal or fight. And that's sort of the two separate ways that, Brendan and Claire deal with this new reality. She really is looking to heal through acceptance and moving on, and he's going to fight.
Yes.
And so it's interesting.
Well, I have to congratulate both of you. Robin, obviously, for Gotham. I think your portrayal of Cobblepot, Mr. Cobblepot and the Penguin, was amazing. A lot of things that actors do, even down to the walk. It was just, I totally believed you were him. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was honestly the role of a lifetime. Changed my entire life, and I miss him. If that makes any sense. I miss his psycho.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. And Aleska, the weird part is I can literally on television tonight watch you in The Irishman if I want to, because it's available now.
I know.
So that's
good. It's so good.
That is really unique to playing in the theaters and being able to watch it at home too. That's amazing.
I know. The times we live in.
Yeah. Did you enjoy your experience in the film?
Oh yeah. There's yes. It's definitely a lot of pinch me moments.
Yeah.
It's like all of my heroes are in that movie. So I was very shy on set. I was like, just staring at everybody a little too hard. And like, so De Niro is just one of my favorites ever. And, you know, he's a rather quiet person and I'm a rather quiet person. So we didn't do a lot of talking until the very end. I went up to him and I just said, by the way, I just have to tell you, I love you. I love your work. I love your politics. I love everything about you. And he was like, whoa, okay. I was like, bye. But I had to let him know. I had to let him know, like, you're special to me. Bye.
With this film, Mandela Effect, it's just any film, as I was saying earlier, that really questions our reality, to me, ventures into Philip K. Dick territory a little bit.
Yeah.
And actually, if I remember, there's even a clip of him in the film, if I remember correctly. So when they're watching TV at some point. So that was neat. But
good eye.
Yeah, but I like that, and I wish I could say more. But Robin, you have to do a shift as well in the course of the film, and that was interesting how that worked. But I can't get more specific, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching it and.
Really enjoyed it. You know, it makes you think, you know, and enough of those movies these days, unfortunately.
I know. Well, that's what's so great about the genre of sci-fi. You know, I mean, I grew up reading a lot of sci-fi, and it's always been this, like, you know, this peek into our own experience that is other, that is what if, that is this really this? And I think it's so important to do that in these sort of, you know, really grounded ways.
And it's so exciting right now as we watch sci-fi become less and less niche and really become part of the zeitgeist and part of, you know, just, and I feel like this movie just fits right into that so well. And, you know, it really, you know, treats the genre with such respect. And I'm really proud of that with this movie.
That's a really great point.
Thank you.
You know? Yeah, it really is. You know, it's crossing over into like philosophy. I can think of a couple of shows and things like the OA, all these things where sci-fi is becoming more of like this alternative, sort of almost philosophical / religious way of experiencing ourselves, the world. Cool.
You can ignore it, but I mean, artificial intelligence is literally hitting upon us, slapping us in the face right now. So it's here.
I know. You know. Totally.
Yeah, I mean, we are on the threshold of actually, you know, we could very potentially be proving what are theories now of what is reality. We could very well, with, you know, artificial intelligence and, you know, more and more powerful computers, as we address in the movie, you know, we are at the threshold of possibly proving these to be true, which is so exciting.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great talking to both of you. I have a lot of respect for your work, and it's you guys brought it, and it's a very intriguing. It's a movie that's going to make me think about it for a while.
Thank you so much, Tony.
Thank you so much, Tony. That's amazing.
And if you want to kind of have something to stir the old gray matter, The Mandela Effect is the film.
Yes.
All right. Thank you both. And thank you all for listening. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
The Mandela Effect will be out December 6th. And also look for this one on demand. For Sci-Fi Talk, this is Tony Tolato. Thanks for listening.